The story begins with a girl named Samantha waking up. It is February 12th, known as Cupid's Day, a day to celebrate love, similar to Valentine's Day, which comes 2 days later. As Samantha gets ready for college, her parents call her for breakfast, but she ignores them and leaves. Outside, her best friend is waiting for her in the car. Samantha has 3 best friends, and they are all very popular at school. However, their attitude and the way they talk show that they are quite arrogant and full of themselves. While talking to her friends, Samantha excitedly tells them that Rob, the guy she likes, has invited her to spend the evening with him. Her friends are thrilled about this news. Later in class, 3 girls enter carrying roses. Every girl in the class receives a rose from someone. Samantha gets 2, one from Rob and another from Kent, a boy in her class who has feelings for her. However, Samantha is not interested in Kent. After class, Kent invites her to his house, but she refuses. Samantha and her 3 friends go to the school canteen, where they notice a girl named Juliet. Juliet is different from everyone else, and because of this, people often make fun of her. Samantha and her friends call her a psycho and make rude comments when she walks past them. That night, Samantha and her friends go to a party, having fun and enjoying themselves. While she is there, Rob, the boy she likes, comes up to her and starts flirting. He tells Samantha that he has to go somewhere for a while, but will come back in an hour to meet her. Samantha is excited and waits with her friends. As they sit together, Juliet arrives at the party. Since most people think she is strange, she stands out. One of Samantha's friends, Linda, walks up to Juliet and sarcastically tells her to drink slowly, implying that this is her first time drinking. Juliet gets angry, glares at Linda, and calls her a bitch. This leads to an argument between them, and soon Samantha, her friends, and others at the party start throwing beer at Juliet while calling her a psycho. Juliet is humiliated and overwhelmed. Unable to handle the bullying, she runs away crying. Kent, who has been watching everything, tells Samantha that what she did was wrong and that they shouldn't have treated Juliet that way. However, Samantha ignores his words and doesn't think much about it. As the party continues, she looks around and suddenly sees Rob. The same Rob who told her he would be back in an hour is now flirting with other girls at the party. Samantha realizes that he wasn't being honest with her. Feeling frustrated, Samantha and her 3 friends decide to leave. They get into a car and start driving on the highway. But then, something terrible happens. Their car crashes in a severe accident. The next moment, Samantha suddenly opens her eyes and finds herself in her bed. Everything seems normal. She looks at the calendar and sees that it is February 12th, Cupid's Day, the same day as before. At first, she thinks she had a terrible dream about the accident, but as the day goes on, she realizes that everything is happening exactly as it did before. Samantha sits in class, watching as her lecturer writes the same topic on the blackboard, the exact one she saw before. Everything is unfolding just as it did the first time. Once again, she receives 2 roses, one from Rob, the boy she likes, and the other from Kent, her classmate who has feelings for her. As the day continues, Samantha sees that everything is happening exactly as it did before, even the incident with Juliet at the party. At first, she thinks it might just be déjà vu, but when she and her friends get into the car and drive on the highway, she decides to test her suspicion. She warns her friends that a truck is going to pass in front of them. Moments later, the truck appears, just as she predicted. She checks the time on her phone, and it is the exact moment when their car crashed the last time. Before she can react, their car gets into another accident. The next moment, Samantha opens her eyes in bed again. This time, she realizes it wasn't just a bad dream. She has actually relived the same day twice. And now, for the 3rd time, it is February 12th, Cupid's Day, all over again. No matter what she does, she is stuck in a time loop, forced to experience the same day again and again. Determined to change things, Samantha decides to act differently this time. Instead of riding to school with her 3 friends, she asks her mom to drive her. However, despite this change, the events of the day still unfold in the exact same way. It feels like no matter what she does, she cannot escape February 12th. Later, when she sits in the canteen with her friends, she makes another unexpected decision. She tells them she will not be spending the night with Rob because she is not ready for it. Her friends stare at her in shock. They had all been looking forward to this night for a long time, and they can't believe she is suddenly changing her mind. Samantha decides not to spend the night with Rob because she now realizes he is a flirt who is interested in other girls too. Later, when she is sitting with her friends, Juliet, the girl everyone calls a psycho, walks by. As usual, Samantha's friends make rude comments about her, but this time Samantha surprises them by asking, "Why do we hate her?" Her friends stare at her in shock. One of them replies, "She's weird. She makes strange paintings, and no one likes her. She doesn't have any friends. Why are you even asking this?" Samantha shrugs and says, "I was just curious." She looks over at Juliet, who sits alone, completely silent, as if she is disconnected from the world. That evening, instead of going to the party, Samantha convinces her friends to stay at a friend's house. She hopes that by avoiding the party, they can also avoid the accident that always happens at exactly 12:39 a.m., killing them all. As the clock approaches 12:39, Samantha becomes extremely nervous. Her heart pounds as she stares at her phone, waiting for the moment when the accident would have happened. She doesn't move, holding her breath as the time changes to 12:39, then 12:40. Nothing happens. For the first time, they are alive past the moment of the accident. Samantha is shocked and overjoyed. Unable to hold back her emotions, she tells her friends, "I love you all so much." They smile and reply, "We love you too, but what's going on?" Samantha simply smiles and says, "It's nothing." That night, after deciding to stay in instead of going to the party, Samantha and her friends go to sleep. However, in the middle of the night, they receive a shocking message. Juliet, the girl everyone calls a psycho, has committed suicide. Samantha is stunned. She had thought that since they didn't go to the party, Juliet wouldn't have gone through the usual humiliation where people poured beer on her and mocked her. So why did she still take her own life? As Samantha struggles to understand, one of her friends suddenly mentions something surprising. She turns to Linda and says, "Wasn't Juliet your best friend in 5th grade? You two used to have sleepovers at her house." Samantha is completely taken aback. She had no idea that Linda and Juliet were once so close. Linda hesitates for a moment, then admits, that was before she became a psycho. Back then, she was just a normal girl. Samantha looks at her in disbelief. "We've been making fun of her for years, and you never told us that you used to be her best friend?" Linda has no answer. She avoids eye contact and simply says, "Just go to sleep." Feeling unsettled, Samantha finally falls asleep. The next morning, she wakes up to the same alarm ringing on her phone, the exact same one that has gone off every morning on February 12th. Her heart sinks. She realizes that, despite everything she did to change the day, nothing worked. She is still stuck in the endless time loop. No matter how hard she tries, she cannot escape February 12th. Each day repeats over and over, trapping her in the same cycle. Frustration takes over. She feels helpless, unable to break free from this never-ending nightmare. Samantha, feeling completely frustrated with being stuck in the time loop, decides to do things differently. She wears a bold and revealing outfit before leaving the house. Her mother stops her, disapproving of her choice of clothing, and tells her not to wear such things. Samantha, fed up, snaps back, "I can do whatever I want with my life." Before leaving, she also scolds her younger sister for always messing with her things, feeling irritated by everything around her. As she walks out, she wonders if she is actually dead and trapped in some kind of hell, or if she is still alive but forced to relive a miserable, never-ending day. When she gets into the car with her friends, she suddenly regrets her clothing choice, feeling uncomfortable with the way she looks. On the way to college, Linda makes a comment, and Samantha, already frustrated, lashes out at her. Linda, furious, tells her to get out of the car and forces her to walk the rest of the way. At school, when the girls come to hand out roses like they do every year, Samantha rudely talks back to them and throws the roses she receives into the trash. When the teacher scolds her for her behavior, she flirts with them just to be rebellious. After class, she spots Juliet and decides to follow her. She watches as Juliet sits alone in a quiet room, painting. Samantha observes her in silence, and for the first time she truly sees Juliet, not as the psycho everyone mocks, but as a lonely, sad girl with an empty life. Guilt washes over her as she realizes that all the years of making fun of Juliet were cruel and completely unfair. She and her friends should never have treated her this way. That night, like always, she goes to the party where her 3 friends are also present. One of them approaches her and tells her that she should apologize to Linda for how she treated her earlier. At first, Samantha refuses, still angry, but eventually she walks up to Linda and, instead of apologizing, coldly says, "You're a horrible driver. You have no idea how many people you've hurt, and I'm one of them." Linda is confused by Samantha's words. "What are you talking about?" she asks, not understanding what Samantha means. But Samantha isn't talking about something Linda remembers. She's talking about the accident that happens every night, the one that kills all of them. Just then, Juliet arrives at the party, and Samantha walks away without saying anything. She heads straight to Rob and, without thinking, starts kissing him. That night, she goes all the way with him, as if trying to escape from everything that is overwhelming her. But even in that moment, she can hear the voices of her 3 friends in the background, yelling at Juliet. They are throwing beer and wine at her, calling her a psycho, just like they do every night. Samantha feels like her mind is spinning. She doesn't know what's happening to her anymore, what's real and what's not. After being with Rob, she steps outside for some fresh air. Kent is standing there. Samantha suddenly remembers that this party is happening at Kent's house. She walks up to him and, for the first time, sincerely apologizes. "I'm sorry, Kent. I used your room," she says. Kent, who has loved her since they were kids, just smiles. "It's okay." Samantha realizes that she has never really paid attention to Kent, even though he has always been there. She asks him, "Why did you throw such a big party tonight?" Kent looks at her and says, "I was hoping you would come. That's why I planned it." Hearing this, Samantha remembers their childhood. They used to be close, playing together all the time. She remembers one particular moment when she fell from a tree and hurt her leg badly. Kent had been there for her then, just like he has always been. Even though they aren't close anymore, those memories come rushing back, filling her heart with a strange warmth. Samantha sighs. "I should go," she says. Kent offers, "I'll take you home," but Samantha shakes her head. "I don't want to go home." Kent hesitates for a moment, then says, "If you're okay with it, you can stay here. I'll sleep outside." Samantha nods and decides to stay. That night, as she lies in Kent's house, she feels more emotional than ever. Old memories flood her mind, and for the first time in a long while, she feels something she had forgotten, how much Kent once meant to her. It's as if the place he once had in her heart as a child is opening up again. Samantha wakes up the next morning, but instead of feeling frustrated or hopeless, she feels different. Her mindset and behavior have completely changed. For the first time in a long while, she talks kindly to her younger sister, plays with her, and even joins her family for lunch. As they sit together, Samantha asks her mom, "What was I like when I was little?" Her mom smiles, reminiscing. "You had such a big heart. I remember when you used to go horse riding. You made sure to ride every horse so that none of them would feel left out." Samantha chuckles. "Yeah, I remember. But that was a long time ago. That was just childhood." Her mom looks at her and says, "You only need to focus on one good thing in life, and it will lead you where you're meant to be." Her mother's words sink deep into her heart. That night, as Samantha lies in bed, her mind is filled with thoughts. Something inside her is changing, pushing her to do something different. Without hesitating, she gets up and goes straight to Kent's house, where another party is taking place. Once there, she finds Kent, and the two of them head to his room to talk. As they sit together, Kent brings up a memory from their childhood. "Do you remember when my dad died?" he asks. "I was sitting alone in the cafeteria, feeling empty. I had just gotten some food when a kid named Phil came over and knocked it all to the ground. I didn't say anything. I was too numb, but you saw what happened. And instead of yelling at Phil, you picked up the food from the floor and smeared it all over your face." Samantha laughs softly, the memory coming back to her. Kent smiles. "That was the first time I laughed after my dad died, and it was because of you. That day I told you that one day I would become your hero." Samantha looks at him, emotions swirling inside her. Slowly they lean in and kiss. It's different from anything she's felt before, real and meaningful. But before she can fully process what's happening, she hears a scream. It's Juliet. Samantha pulls away, her heart pounding. She knows exactly what's happening. Linda and Juliet are fighting, and within moments the crowd will start throwing beer and wine at Juliet, humiliating her like every night before. Samantha rushes downstairs just in time to see Juliet running away, clearly frustrated and upset. Without thinking, she follows her, determined not to let history repeat itself. When Samantha finally catches up, she stops Juliet and, for the first time, sincerely apologizes. "I'm sorry for everything we've done to you. I mean it. I truly apologize for all of it." Juliet looks at her, her expression filled with pain. Then she speaks. "Do you know why Linda and I used to sleep together all the time when we were kids?" she asks. "It was because her parents were always fighting. Their relationship was terrible, and eventually they got divorced. That stress affected Linda in ways no one knew. She started wetting the bed." Samantha listens in shock as Juliet continues. "When we went camping, Linda wet the bed again. But instead of admitting it, she blamed me. And from that day on, everyone teased me for something I never even did. Even you. Even your friends." Tears fill Juliet's eyes as she takes a deep breath. "But it was never me. It was Linda." Before Samantha can process this revelation, Juliet suddenly turns and starts running again. "Juliet, wait!" Samantha shouts, but it's too late. A car comes speeding down the road, and Juliet doesn't stop. She deliberately steps into its path, allowing it to hit her. Samantha freezes, horrified, as she realizes something even more shocking. The car that hit Juliet belongs to Linda, and in that instant, the truth of everything falls into place. The first accident, the one Samantha and her friends kept experiencing, was never random. It was caused by Juliet's suicide. She had stepped in front of their car just like she did now, and because of that, their vehicle crashed. They had died because of what they had done to her. Everything clicks in Samantha's mind. Then suddenly she wakes up again. She's back in her bed. It's the morning of February 12th. For a moment, she just lies there, but something is different. She doesn't feel scared. She doesn't feel angry. She doesn't feel lost. Instead, for the first time, she feels truly awake. She sits up, takes a deep breath, and smiles. I know how to live this day, she whispers to herself. This time, before leaving the house, she greets her parents warmly, hugging both her mom and dad. She even hugs her younger sister, making her giggle in surprise. When she steps outside, everything looks different. The trees, the sky, the people, everything seems new, as if she's seeing it for the first time. There is beauty and happiness all around her. Her three best friends arrive to pick her up, just like they always do. But instead of acting distant or annoyed, Samantha smiles at them. She talks to them with warmth and kindness. And then, she tells each of them why she loves them. Samantha decides to make a change, not just for herself, but for the people around her. She buys a rose, but this time, it's for Kent. When the three girls come to hand out roses in class, something different happens. Kent, who usually never gets one, receives a flower. Inside is a small card. He opens it and reads the words Samantha wrote. "You are my hero." Kent looks around, surprised, and catches Samantha's gaze. She smiles at him. After class, Samantha approaches Kent and invites him to a party. Normally, she would have refused his invitations, but this time she says, "I'll definitely be there." Kent is surprised but happy. Later, when Samantha goes to the canteen with her three best friends, the usual scene unfolds. Juliet enters, and Linda and the others immediately start making fun of her. But before they can go too far, Samantha speaks up. "Stop. We shouldn't do this," she says firmly. Her friends stare at her in disbelief, but she doesn't care. She knows what she's doing is right. After school, Samantha walks outside her house and sees her family, her mom, dad, and younger sister, all together. She watches them for a moment, appreciating their presence in a way she never did before. Then she heads to the party, keeping her promise to Kent. At the party, she finds Kent and pulls him aside, leading him to his room. She looks at him with a playful smile and says, "No one has ever kissed me better than you." Kent looks confused. "But the last time I kissed you was in the 3rd grade, when we were just kids." Samantha laughs. "Then I guess we should do it again." Without hesitation, she leans in, and they share a deep, meaningful kiss. After the kiss, Samantha looks into Kent's eyes and says, "I love you, Kent." Kent is caught off guard, but his heart swells at her words. Then Samantha heads back downstairs. Just as Juliet is about to enter the party, Samantha stops her at the gate. "Juliet, I need to apologize to you," she says sincerely. But Juliet isn't interested. She doesn't trust Samantha's words. Without a response, she turns and starts walking away. Samantha chases after Juliet, pleading with her not to end her life. She tells her that life is beautiful and worth living, but Juliet, lost in despair, insists that things will never get better. Samantha tries to convince her otherwise, telling her that she is not broken and should never believe she is. However, Juliet is overwhelmed by her pain and runs toward an oncoming truck, determined to end everything. In a split second, Samantha makes a selfless choice. She pushes Juliet out of the way, saving her life, but sacrificing her own. Samantha never opens her eyes again, but in that moment, she is freed from the time loop. Her soul is at peace, no longer forced to relive February 12th. Her final message lingers. Some people have endless tomorrows while others have only one day. But if we truly live each day with kindness, love, and purpose, even a single day can be greater than a lifetime. Instead of trying to be someone else, we should embrace who we are. This is the lesson of Before I Fall. Released in 2017, the film carries a powerful message about life and the choices we make. Hope you enjoyed the story.